Welcome everyone to my chess stream here on lichess and Twitch. My name on lichess is Sparkle Horse. On Twitch we're streaming as Slaggy. I'm International Master William Paschall. We are playing blitz and classical chess here on lichess, and we'll be playing between 5 and 8 minute games with a small increment. So if any of the viewers out there want to challenge me to play, please do so. Anything between 5 and 8 minutes you're welcome to challenge, but please make it unrated and include a small increment. The longer games, like 7 or 8 minutes, we can use just a 3-second increment, and for faster games, if you want to, you can challenge with an increment as big as 5 seconds. So like 5 minutes with a 5-second increment, or 6 minutes with a 5-second increment is okay. But with the longer games, like 8 minutes, we don't need that kind of increment, so 3 seconds is enough for those. The standard time control seems to be like 8-3, which is very popular, and some people like to play with a 5-minute time control. Anyway, welcome everyone to the stream. I do this Monday to Friday, 10 to 12:30 Central European Time. I also do a simul here on lichess on Sundays between, well, 6:30 and 9 p.m. on Sunday evenings. So let's get started. We have challenges by Constant Change, Plucro, and Mule Skinner. I think these are kind of our standard time controls. 8+3 and 5+3 from Plucro is 5+3. Alright, I'm going to get started with Constant Change. This is a player who's playing me a lot here in the stream. We've already played like 37 games. That's a lot, and not really a very long period of time. I think just a few months since... believe it or not, I think Constant Change, it's only been a few months, but he's been here very regularly, and we've already played 36 games. He plays very quickly, so I'm going to think about my move here. Alright, the clock doesn't run. The clock doesn't run until you make your first move, which is funny. I don't know, for some reason it seems like I'm surprised in the process of this. My clock hasn't run, his clock hasn't run. I guess that's normal. I'm still waking up. So I'm going to have my coffee. You guys can feel free to pitch into the chat here on lichess. If you have any questions or comments, any kind of chess-related questions, I'm happy to answer. And we can get started. So we've got, let me see, I think 3 challenges. Ghost Mind, it challenged me to 7-3. That's fine as well. Constant Change was first here, but he might have thought we're not going to start for another minute or two. I'll wait. I guess we should wait like a few more seconds. He could have stepped out, but if he wants to re-challenge me, I'll give him like 30 seconds, but I want to get started. He was the first one here. There it is. Alright, c5. I don't think he's played this before. I don't recall seeing this player play this. He did play an interesting game the other day. Not that one, but prior to that, 2 days ago. This is actually, I'm not sure anymore. I think I'm confused. I must have mixed him up with a different player. What was yesterday's game? Maybe it was this game. No, I'm misremembering something. Anyway, I think d5 is white's best move there. I played this myself with black the other day, though I don't know the theory of this very well. Okay, Clarendon Court defense. I know there was a guy from England, like Jonathan Levitt or somebody, used to play this, and I've seen Jan Elvis play it once. But I don't really think it's featured in the repertoires of a lot of strong players on a regular basis. You could play c4 and transpose to a Dutch. I also played anti-Dutch lines with knight c3, so I feel kind of comfortable playing with knight to c3 here. I don't think you can go wrong with the fianchetto, and honestly, this is really like a kind of transposition to... I'm already a minute behind on the clock. I don't understand how that happens. Mule Skinner, what's up? Is it Wacky Tuesday? Wednesday's here already. Yeah, I mean the Clarendon Court, it's not that bad. I really think it's basically a Dutch we're looking at here. So I don't know. I'm sure there's some violent way White can play against this. You know, maybe the Stoughton Gambit style with e4 or g4. But I just don't think it's really necessary. I mean, for White to sacrifice a pawn or anything like that. It just is a Dutch where Black has a slightly strange formation with c5 very early. But I haven't played c4. I haven't played c4. It's not absolutely necessary. I still consider this a Dutch. And I played the Carlsbad system against the Leningrad Dutch with knight h3 quite a bit. And when you do that, when you play d4, g3, and bishop g2 and knight h3 against the Leningrad Dutch, you have sometimes the option not to play c4. And that's more or less what we have here. Dutch with c5. I mean, the move c5 is played like later on in the Leningrad Dutch all the time. So, I'm not going to play any video games today. All right. If chess fails, I'll become like a YouTube video game streamer. He just castled into it, and now h5, and I think we have been here before with some other players in very, very similar type of positions. I remember once I beat Huang Thang pretty badly in a Dutch like this, and also New England veteran John Curdo has collapsed against me with these early h-file attacks. It's not easy in the Leningrad Dutch to face these setups where White plays a very quick h4, h5. It can be extremely dangerous. There's kind of pawn weakness in the position already with f5, and now dealing with this is usually pretty bad. There have been some quick knockouts by me against some decent players. And this looks very similar to a game I had against somebody else not very long ago here. I think maybe one of my simuls, I'm not sure, maybe it was a blitz stream, but not constant change, it was a different player. It went something like g5, h6, and he took on f4 and Black's position just collapsed completely. Now that position I think was one where, this is like a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago at the most. I think I had played c4. It was more like a traditional Dutch on the queen side, but it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. I mean, sometimes the knight's going to e6, sometimes it can pop back to d3 in the event of g5, but this position already looks pretty dangerous for Black. But perhaps he can hold it together. Let's see what he does here. Yeah, the h4, h5, I've had very good experiences with this. Okay, so he just takes on h5. That may be better than, you know, like the last time I had this type of position, Black played g5, I got an h6, Black took on f4, and I just took on g7 with a crushing position. If g5, h6, bishop h8, White has, here it looks like White has either knight h5 or knight h3. I remember against Huang Thang, I did something like knight h5 and fianchettoed my knight in their position on like g7 or something. That was many, many years ago, like 10 years ago now. But it looks like we're going to keep this simple. He does trade pieces, which probably reduces my chances for a successful attack. So I suppose we need a little bit of a plan here. I mean, I don't have to take the pawn right away on h5. Now, the interesting question is about my king. I don't necessarily have to castle. I mean, castling queenside into the long diagonal looks somewhat risky. Why do we castle in chess, right, guys? Normally for the sake of the king's safety, but oftentimes it's more about getting the rooks in the game, as I think it would be in this kind of position. The only way for me to get my queen rook in the attack would be to castle queenside and clear the back rank. He's not letting me do that now. Black played queen b6. This looks to me like, okay, yes, you're stopping me from castling queenside, you're stopping me from moving my bishop. But on the other hand, the black king side looks kind of... It looks kind of open after this queen has left over here for b6. So, what to do? Can't play rook b1. This is problematical. I'm going to manually castle. My rook is not a problem. My king is very safe on like g1. I think we'll go with that. I could play bishop h6. But I will drop the b2 pawn, so it's a bit of a problem. Tactical solution for black, preventing me from developing my pieces with this queen b6 business. Gonna need to be a little creative. I guess I can move my queen to d2, protect the knight, and then try to like play rook b1 or b3. Someone suggested e3 right now. It would block my bishop on c1. I don't really like that. My bishop has a good diagonal. I was thinking about bishop h6, honestly. Wanted to play rook b1. It's probably okay. Tactical solution. F4 for black in which situation? Dr. Checkmate, welcome to the stream. As I welcome everybody. I should just say welcome generally, but Dr. Checkmate is an old friend, and it's good to see him. How are things in the Rocky Mountain? The Rocky Mountain state. Rook b1. What's the trick, guys? I'm going to play bishop e3. If bishop takes c3, bishop e3, intermezzo. Yesterday, there are some similarities of the game in a way that I played yesterday with Tatsuar. It was a King's Indian. I also did in Castle. I also had a rook on a half-open file like this. And he gave up his dark squared bishop. And his game like collapsed like instantaneously. And it's the same thing here. I think black has a kind of dilemma. Because if he does give up the dark squared bishop, it's probably like a hopeless position for black because he can't defend his king side. The pawn on d5 kind of segments the position in half, and this is his, this is his only kingside defender. I mean, okay, the rook on f8 can help a little bit, but black can't really afford to give up this dark squared bishop. Yes, this is a tactic. Bishop d4. I saw this before I played it. I was hoping I'd have something better than the ultra lame. The f4 idea is interesting for black. Probably not enough. Queen d2 here is an interesting concept. Originally I was going to play queen e1. But I was thinking queen d2, bishop takes f2 check, king h2. Maybe king h1. I guess king h2, but then he has bishop g1. So unfortunately, I have to put my queen on a really silly square. But this was the plan. It should be adequate. Not what I wanted to do. But it's okay. We can live with this. Constant change is like purely tactics. But now it looks like black should be in trouble. Queen takes. I'm going to have to play e3. Knight takes c2. I guess I'm going to have to play e3. This is really ugly. I didn't want to block my own bishop. But now his pieces are strangely placed as well. We can always reopen the diagonal if we have to. Alright. He's trying to play maybe knight to c5 or what here? Knight to c5, I guess. If I play e4 now? It's sort of double-edged. I mean, I'm opening up the king side. Wow. Is f4. I can't find any tactics here. He's just too fast for me to even try to talk about the game, I guess. Fortunately, there's problems with my f-pawn. But isn't his bishop hanging here? I don't know. My queen, I just left it on prise. That was a good move. Okay, good game. Hallucination there, first game. It's a little tough playing this guy first. Just left my queen on prise, sorry. To play queen d4 check, then rook takes bishop. I don't really think that black has anything. I just forgot my queen was hanging. Need another coffee, apparently. But looks like I'm just winning there. I don't know. It was strange. Apparently not. What? Queen d4 check? Oh. He has something here. Rook takes bishop? Oh, my rook's hanging. So it was all very well calculated by black. Wow. Apparently I'm like losing here no matter what I do. I have to play queen d4 check first, and then I'm lucky if I'm not like worse. Rook on 8. Queen d4 check first, and then rook takes b7. So rook takes b7 was a mistake. Wow, very strong game from my opponent there. Plukro, not a good way to start the day today, losing. But constant change plays very well. We are black. I mean, I hung my queen, but I was in trouble. I had like 7 seconds, and I saw there were some problems. So it wasn't like I just hung my queen in a winning position. I was panicking on the clock, and it's always hard against that opponent because he's so fast. It's unbelievable. Just always, I'm in very bad time pressure. Queen takes f2 is not okay. Nothing's okay there except for not taking on b7 right away. I had to play queen d4 check. Looking at with the engine, I had to play queen d4 check first and then take b7, but black's still fine there. Interesting game. I don't know, constant change, it's very strange that I have such a good score against that guy, because every time I feel like I could have lost almost every single game. Every game was very close, and the time pressure just gets to me after a while. I'm just constantly with like 5 seconds per move, 5 seconds per move. I hung my queen, but I didn't see a good move. I didn't see my rook on g5. I saw in some variation my rook was hanging, but in the last variation, I meant to play queen d4 check and rook takes d7. I transposed moves with rook takes d7 first, but it wouldn't have worked anyway, because if queen d4 check, which is what I intended to do, he plays rook on 8 to f6, and then if I take on d7, he has queen c1 check, winning my rook on g5. So the whole plan didn't work. The best I can do is queen d4 check, rook f6, and then some kind of defensive move like king h2, or I don't know, something. I'm just down a pawn, I guess, basically. Plukro played a3. This is a position that I don't know if I'm happy with d5. These kind of positions, I normally like to play with the pawn structure with the pawn on d6. Because I don't like playing d4 in this kind of pawn structure, opening up the bishop on a2. And if I trade pawns on e4, then he can take with the pawn, which bothers me, going into an ending that's like kind of sterile. So, oh man, what's up? I lost the first game. It's a very bad way to start the stream. Not happening very much. Where I lose the first game I play. Excuse me. Let's play some Plants vs. Zombies maybe, or something else would be better than this. So, castles. Welcome everyone. I'm International Master William Paschall, believe it or not, after losing the first game. And we're playing Blitz and Classical Chess. If you guys want to challenge me, everyone's welcome to challenge. We are playing between 5 and 8 minute games, and I'm just trying to get woken up. But Constant Change is, I think, from a different time zone where he's very awake, and I've got to make excuses about not being fully awake. I hate this pawn structure, man. I really, really do. I have to say, you know, I just detest this kind of position where I don't want to play d4. If I take, they play for a draw with like pawn takes. I wouldn't mind knight takes, where I think that I think the position is fine for black, but I don't know how to play in this position with this pawn tension here. I don't like black's options. You know, what can you do? Like b6. They practically have to do this like super lame d takes e, and hope that white cooperates. b5 possible for black. Is it? Like, what's... I mean, I looked at it, but I don't see, like, does it work? He just takes. And I have queen b6 or what? I mean, it is an idea in similar structures I've seen in the Grand Prix attack, but well, you know, both captures are possible. Knight takes e4 and d takes e. And yeah, I hate this. This is just absolutely insipid. No idea how to play with black here. I just hate my position. I guess I trade queen so I don't get mated or something. I don't know. I don't really like my game. Maybe I'll lose 2. We had a good position in the first game, but he finds these amazing tactics like bishop d4. If he doesn't find that move, Constant Change would have been toast. Tactical mechanism of queen b6 pinning me to the b2 pawn. Then the tactical idea of bishop d4 attacking my f2 pawn. In the first game, it's pretty amazing concept. Very difficult for me to develop my pieces. And once I had to play e3, I didn't really like my position as much in the first game. Here, I think I'm slightly worse, but it's probably not that bad for black. But if I had to do over again, I probably wouldn't play d5. I'm kind of still half asleep here, and I don't know though. I mean, maybe I should have played d5, and maybe I should have played d takes e right away and just done this. D takes e, queen takes d1 check, and force him to take with the knight or the king on d1. I think it would have been better, you know, but winning is another matter. I think I delayed taking on e4, and maybe it's a better version for him with a rook on d1 here. It looks like a stupid position for black. Maybe it's not that bad, but seals me off with e5 now. Just hate my game. Positionally, this is just clearly better for white. I don't know if you should do that, though. Maybe you could play to attack my pawn again. But I guess it's good enough. Good enough for white. If he plays knight takes b5, queen a5 check, well, okay. I understand now what you're talking about, Zen chess, because I thought you meant like b5 later. So you're talking about like b5 when exactly, like in this position? Well, that's a different story. Before he's castled, it's a little early. I mean, it seems a little early to play b5 to me. b4. Trying like a desperate tactic before I lose again here, getting crushed. No idea. I thought he had better. I don't have time to calculate. Again, I'm just like with no time. I don't even know where my time went. It seems like Blue Crow's playing too quickly. I don't think you blundered something. You have two pieces for a rook. It looks like a normal position. I just have no time. As usual. Now you blundered something. If you played bishop e3 last move, you'd probably be winning. For my mental health, I think it's better that you let me win this game. Because losing the first two games would probably upset me inconsolably. I was totally lost. I don't think that the piece sacrifice was even sound. I mean, after I played the desperate move d3 with no time on the clock, here in move 16, basically, I thought you had something a lot simpler here. I don't think this is sound, if we look at it with the engine for a second. Apparently it is. Wow. This was a desperation move. Although it's not objectively forced. I didn't see I could play this. Bishop a6. The computer wants to play bishop a6. Which is really funny. Bishop a6, b5? How does that even work? I have rook takes d6. Obviously I didn't have time to calculate this, but apparently, okay, I was never lost in this game, but I wasn't really happy with my position. And at the end here, instead of a4, you're still clearly better. Or better, a lot better, I thought. I didn't play b5. Yeah, bishop e3 in this position. And white's better, you know, so you just panicked. I guess you were never winning, but you were significantly better. And the opening I'm not really satisfied with there. Okay, Mule Skinner. b5 was your idea, just you were not protected on the back rank. I'm a little slow to... I'm a little slow tactically when I wake up. First thing in the morning, tactics not my strength. So we had a tough opponent, honestly, with constant change, who's like 2100. Don't like to play him first thing in the stream. And we did lose that one. And then we got in trouble the second game, too. Mule Skinner, this is becoming a regular thing. So you choose to play the Panov against the Caro-Kann. But I think it's kind of a strange choice for Mule Skinner. He seems to like closed setups for white. Now, honestly, the Panov is like one of the most open lines you can choose. Mule Skinner, why don't you play like the advanced variation? Because it's not a normal Caro-Kann. Okay, I'm really crazy today. He probably does. Okay, so e4, d5. He needs a way to keep the position closed in the Scandinavian. Yeah, that's why I play this. It's not easy to come up with a solution for him. So I've got him in the Panov. Yesterday I played badly. Yesterday I played a strange line. I want to improve. We had this line yesterday, which I played for the first time, bishop e6. Tony Miles, among others, first started playing this. But... I glanced at the theory yesterday after the game with Mule Skinner. I completely misplayed it. Misremembered what I was supposed to do. I played a very, very bad move like queen d7, which is actually horrible for black. After c5, I played queen d7. This is a horrible move. I played it because I play some analogous positions in slightly different lines where that's a normal idea, but it doesn't really work here. I'm supposed to play g6. I was worried that I needed to protect my knight on c6 in the event of like bishop b5 and knight e5 and whatnot. But apparently the best move is g6, just completing development. I'm not sure this is a great variation for black, but I thought it's something interesting to try. But I think against this particular opponent, Mule Skinner, he seems to like closed positions. So giving him this like variation where he plays c5 and locks the center, it's probably a bad idea. But I'm black. What can I do? Maybe g6 is the best. g6 against Mule Skinner is probably the best. I think a few days ago I had a game where I played e6. I don't remember if it was against him. Maybe it was against him. That's all well known. That's probably the best move for black. g6 is another very popular line for black. Okay. So he played bishop b5. And there are threats of knight e5 and queen a4 in this position. But objectively, I can't play bishop g4 because of queen a4. I think we just have to play bishop back to d7 at some point. Which makes me doubt this entire variation, to be perfectly honest. The validity of this variation is in question, I think. This is supposed to go to like g4, trade itself off for a knight, but there's no time to do that. There are other similar lines, like bishop g5, bishop e6. I like that for black. Situation is a little bit different. But still, I saw some games, black plays bishop back to d7, but I'm not really enthused with my position. Used to play a very similar variation for white, and people would play b5 against me on c4 and lock out my bishop on a2. Zen Chess is talking about the last game against Blue Crow, and yes, b5, idea c4, that's pretty standard. But I'm not sure about the order of moves in the opening. In my last game, 95, I think I looked at this yesterday. I don't like having to put my bishop on d7, but there's no other way to meet the threat of this pin. Another factor here to consider is that this is his good bishop, so I wouldn't mind if he exchanges that. But I think I'm going to give up this line. I'm in bishop e6. This is the second game I've tried this. I'm not really enthused with black's game. I wanted to try something different. I played a lot of g6 lately, which is okay. There's some problems in that line. Bishop g4 is a big draw at best for black, and e6 I prefer to play without knight c6. So if I continue to play this position, I'm going to play g6 next time instead of bishop e6. Now is an interesting decision. We can take with the knight or the queen on d7. King takes is not too good, obviously. Queen takes has no threat to it. Knight takes retreats my knight from the center, but threatens d4. Mule Skinner had a good game against me the other day, yesterday it was. And again here, I think that white's better. Probably this has been played in some Grandmaster games by black, but I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't mind trading this pawn for this pawn, eliminating the center. But most likely that won't transpire, I think. He'll probably play some kind of holding move here, keeping his center. I don't have any bad pieces, but I don't have really any plan in this position at all. And again, queen takes doesn't do anything for black. I think my queen is better on d8, where it has some mobility on the dark squares. Yeah, arousal time, that's what I'm talking about. Queen takes d7 seems natural. Well, yes, it clears the back rank and quote-unquote develops a piece, but it also puts my queen in a pin. I mean, my knight has like nowhere to go from f6. So I prefer this, but in any case, he played 92. This is a strange decision, and I think a tactical mistake. Why? So I have some tricks here. It looks like bishop e3. He may have been concerned about something like bishop e3, knight takes c5, d takes c5, and d4, forking his pieces. It would be complicated after like bishop takes c6, b takes c6, or queen a4, even there. So they're forks. Another benefit of knight takes d7 rather than queen takes d7 affords these tactical tricks. Bishop e3, knight takes c5, d takes c5, d4. Actually, it's not an unusual trick in the tower. So, but here I have queen a5 check. then the million-dollar question. Which way do you want to take on d4? Strange situation, isn't it? I love this position. Bishop takes d4 is possible. Why not? It seems safer than taking with the knight, allowing bishop takes d7 check, king takes d7, with kind of a messy situation. If I did that, knight takes d4, bishop takes d7, king takes d7. I mean, it seems like he'll have lasting compensation. I would think about it. I would think about it more if I had more time. Well, I have bishop takes c3 check, intermezzo. That's the point. I'm fairly confident I made the right recapture on d7. But it would have been more interesting if White had played bishop e3. Knight takes c5 with complications. Knight takes c5, d takes c5, d4, queen a4, something like that with unclear play. Now we have two possibilities. Taking our queen a6 check. I don't see any benefit in queen a6 check. I think black's just winning here. He has a bad king. I'm up a pawn. So, very lucky. This is just kind of a swindle. I mean, I don't think that this is even a very good line for black. Just, he made the strange move, knight e2. He could also just exchange bishop takes c6, b takes c with an equal position, I would think. More or less equal. Maybe black's a tiny bit better there. I can play e5 like in a Slav or something. So bishop e3. Well, I guess this is a justification for this variation that black has. I'm trying to make two moves in a row. Wow, I thought it was my move. The beacon's moving in storage is... He's harmless enough, you know, he's contributing. He's been analyzing some lines. So it's not... he's not a troll, completely. He's a little obsessed with Bobby Fischer and the moving incident, but I don't mind. H4, a good try, Mule Skinner. Mule Skinner with the h4. Just to play like h4, h5. Where do I begin here to try to coordinate my position? And I don't want to just like grab material without any plan. We've got almost dropped something. We've got queen takes f2 to attack f2, knight f6, knight e4, knight g4. We're stopping queen d4. Pressure on f2. Queen c2. Why c2? Mule Skinner misplayed this. Oh well. We should be winning. but I'm a little bit behind in development still. I need, this rook isn't even in the game yet. The A rook. This is a threat. Still, there's no way to win immediately for black. Maybe I have to just play e5 and slowly outplay white. This is a good move. How about my rook getting in the game here? Also possible is knight g4 with the idea of h5. Maybe not a bad plan. Because I don't like h5 by white. It does weaken my king side a little bit. But where's he going to put his bishop? I guess g5. There's no obvious square for his bishop is what I'm trying to say. Yes, this is what I was hoping to do, like to cut off his rook on a1. But I do have some issues with my king side at the moment, so how can I just defend my king side? e5, e4. I just have to keep the king side closed somehow. It's a very strange and annoying situation. I can't play h5 now. So I could play f5 if I have to. Absolutely. Don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do here. I feel like I misplayed this. Okay, I don't feel the bishop's really a danger on that square to me. But I am running out of time. There's no easy game. I'm only up one pawn. No, two pawns. A queen on a2 looks out of play. Bishop on a3 doing nothing. This is really pissing me off. I don't think I've ever been like flagged by Mule Skinner. All right, so I'm getting a little bit of kind of speed back. When we lost the one game, we're coming back now. Spinal Tap, what's up, man? A little slow to start today. I've had some pretty questionable games, and I don't think I'm up to playing you today, man. We'll see. You didn't challenge me, did you? Zen Chess, Lazar Kolic, and Milan Kral. Milan Kral. I want to say Kral, like Star Trek. Did you guys see that? The latest Star Trek movie? I thought it was pretty bad. D3, knight f6. Wade was winning somewhere? Not surprised. Alright. I'm not going to think too deeply about this. It's just a standard King's Indian attack. Normally I play g6, e5, knight on g, e7. King's Indian attack type positions, but he's not committed. He can play in English. Knight d2 is passive for white, so it's more like a King's Indian attack. I have played this years ago, this setup. Rook e1 is fine. Oh, Kraj means king in Serbian, so it's like Kiraj in Hungarian. I understand. E4, D6. In Hungarian, Kiraj, K-I-R-A-L-Y, is the word for king. Obviously related. The Ghostmine? Okay, playing well here, normally. Sometimes he plays some really strange, bizarre openings that are kind of like against principle, but it looks like we've got a standard kind of King's Indian attack. Petrosian liked to play this for white. These kind of symmetrical King's Indian attack sort of positions. This is actually King's Indian attack versus the Sicilian or English opening. A lot of people would play a4 to try to restrict black. But I'm not sure, you know. I think I've had games with c3 years ago. People playing c3 against me. c3 is the normal plan, to try to play d4. I guess this is not so bad for white, though. He can retreat the knight and continue to maneuver. Okay. Just looks bad for white, I guess. Structurally bad for white. He might just lose a pawn, but no. Yes. Pawn takes f6, bishop takes f6, d takes c4, bishop takes b2, bishop takes b2, rook takes b2. White is down a pawn in that position. I don't have any choice. I mean, taking with the e pawn here is pretty grotesque. I don't mind sacrificing the exchange on b2. If you guys knew my friend, International Master Salansi, he would like play rook takes b2 in a heartbeat in this position. He's a little crazy with the exchange sacrifices, and sometimes he goes overboard. But there's something to be said for rook takes b2 probably there. Speaking of sacrificing the exchange, you wouldn't have to talk my friend into sacrificing the exchange on f8. But it's fancy play syndrome, right? I mean, in this position, there's just no reason to do that. We all make fun of Salancy, his other friends and I, because he's obsessed with unnecessarily sacrificing material. And I think in certain situations it's absolutely right to do the dynamic thing, but you know, here there's no need to sacrifice anything. I mean, white made a bad move. Why would Ghostmine not recapture on c4? I think after that, d takes c4, bishop takes b2, bishop takes b2, rook takes b2. He's down a pawn, but my king side is a little bit weak, so maybe he has some chances. I think that would be better. Now I can just take on b2 with the rook or bishop, and there's no complications in the position, no imbalance. Salancy, no, this is a Hungarian guy. Yeah, it sounds similar to Silecki, but no, they're like opposites. And Silecki seems very technical. This guy is like he's an older player. He's kind of a maniac, but he's past his prime. He can't really play well anymore. He was a good player though, at one point, like 15 years ago or 20 years ago. But now he's just an old player who's over the hill, like me. C takes D. Larson, Benoni, Dragon. That's what my friend Salancy likes to play. We call this the Jolly Joker. The bishop, if we sack the exchange and we have the dark squared bishop, on the long diagonal we're down the exchange. It's like a wild card. But again, there's no need to do that here against Ghostmine. I think this is a position where we're just playing simple chess. I think he should just recapture on c4. But if you guys want to go back and look at the position, I mean, I played b5. He just played crazily with e5. White should play knight to e3 here. I mean, this is a sort of normal position. So there was no need to create complications with e5. I think effectively all Ghostmine did is like lose a pawn. Mr. Fisher, Beacon's movement and storage. How did you become so obsessed with Bobby Fischer at this late date? Fischer is not in the news too much lately. Rook takes b2. The name Gligorich. How did we get on Gligorich? Oh, so Beacon's moving and storage is talking about Gligorich. How did we get to Gligorich? Fischer committed the crime of playing chess in Yugoslavia. Fischer played his match, the rematch with Spassky in 92, right? Well, Ghostmine now, I like this move, knight g5. He's creating some chances. There is an issue with the queen coming to either d5 and or c4 and attacking this f7 pawn. So it's kind of a blocking maneuver. Plus my knight was hanging anyway, so white's got a little bit of tricks, but I don't think enough here. He's planning on sacrificing his queen sometime soon. Yeah, I mean, there's no threat because f7 is protected, so now I can just attack his queen. Bishop b7. probably simplest. If he'd like to sacrifice his queen, that's fine. Guys, did you see any of the games from the last round of Weekend Z? Richard Rapport lost again, but this time at least he played a normal opening, and I've been kind of busting on Rapport because he doesn't really, you know, he's a little crazy with the openings and stuff, but he calmed down. He played an interesting game against Wesley So, but he lost. I thought that was a really well-fought game by both sides. If you guys want to check out the last round of Wekanze, So and Rapport did battle. I thought it was a really good struggle. So came out on top. I guess he had it under control all the way. But I thought that Richie Rapport did a reasonable job of playing a decent game. And just, like, you know, fought a good fight but lost. So Ghost Mind here is basically losing a piece. Rapport saw b5. So played really fast as if there was nothing wrong, and then lost confidence. This is from Blue Crow. Lost confidence and made a bad sequence of moves. You mean who lost confidence, made a bad sequence of moves? I thought it was a good game too. Definitely, by far, the best game of the round. In the third round at Weekend Z. Poor Van Welly lost again. He seems... Actually... I wonder if Van Welly just... You know what I mean? He's not a regular guest at this level anymore. I mean, it just doesn't seem like he's got the killer instinct that these other players do. Every year he's invited back to Weekend Z, like, and I like him, but it just doesn't feel like he's really, you know, he's really in it. Maybe he's kind of, I don't know, he's not, just doesn't have a killer instinct against these other top players. He seems kind of lost. Who was it he lost to? Another game that just didn't seem like his opponent did anything spectacular. But Van Welly just kind of slowly lost his way. Rookie 3, we're up a piece, guys. So let's finish this one off. Yes. Bishop h6. Not so quick. We have this. Kind of a cute move. Maybe just trades pieces, but that's good enough for me. Rapport lost confidence, yeah. I didn't get to analyze the game in enough detail, really. The Rapport So game. I'm sure there's no shortage of confidence between Rapport and So in general. There was another decisive game too. Maybe somebody can remind me what that was. Oh, wait, no? But it's good that there's some fighting games, and a lot of these young players are playing interesting chess. The first round was a little scary. There were some draws, and I thought, oh, this is going to be boring. Oh, right, Karyakin won. Wait, Karyakin won against Van Welly, right? Or am I misremembering? It was Karyakin who won against Van Welly, right? He entered a lost endgame. Also against, yeah, Elianov, I mean, his position was fine. He's good in the opening, but I have the feeling that Van Welly's not playing enough high-level chess anymore, for this kind of competition. He's not used anymore to playing a tournament like this where he's constantly playing guys who are like 2,700. I mean, he doesn't play this type of tournament very often, so I imagine it's not easy. When you're like the only tourist in the tournament or whatever, as Kasparov might say. Speaking of Van Velde and the Netherlands, our moderator isn't here today. Mr. Get away from me, Mr. King. Our moderator, Jeroen, maybe he's taking the morning off. Alright, Ghost Mind, this doesn't look good for white. But I don't see any mates. Just slowly driving back. Guys, we're playing, yeah, this should end it. We're playing 5-minute to 8-minute games here with a small increment between 3 and 5 seconds. If you guys like to play, Darkin challenged me to Chess 960, which is cool. I mentioned on the stream, I think about a week ago, that if anybody's interested, I'm willing to play like 1 or 2 Chess 960 games during the stream. So I will accept that challenge, Darkin. We haven't played any Chess 960 games in a while. I noticed my rating on lichess had become like stagnant. Okay, Zen Chess. Let's play something interesting. A modern defense, maybe. Guys, please check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube, where I upload all these streams that we play as well as other independent stuff. The other day I played this modern move order and then got transposed myself into a Pierce, where my bishop was committed to g7, and I was like regretting it because in a lot of lines with like f3, black's better off not playing bishop g7, delaying bishop g7. So I'm not sure it's a really good idea for me to just transpose to a normal Pierce. Last summer, a viewer played the Najdorf a3 against Andras Toth's Najdorf. Toth panned white's 6th move and said if it were ever played at the top level, he would eat his own on stream. Carlsen played a3 in response to the Najdorf in the 2nd round. Someone else played a3 first. Mr. Beacon's Movement in Storage. Carlsen's actually copying Karyakin, right? It wasn't Karyakin who played it in round 1 against somebody. Let me just explain what's going on here. You know, it's reached the point in chess openings. You know, you're obviously very familiar with Robert Fischer and Chess 960. We've reached the point, you know, where the openings are getting kind of exhausted. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that Toth Andras should pan a3 too hard. It's a kind of neutral move. I mean, people play a4 against the Najdorf. I'm sure that a3's been played. And it's just like we're running out of new ideas. So we've seen everything against the Najdorf. a4, rook g1, h3 was a huge trend. Why not a3? So I wasn't even like surprised in the least when I saw a3, but it wasn't Carlsen who started the trend. He copied it, right? I like that, though. He immediately, like, how much preparation does Carlsen have with a3? He immediately incorporates it in like the very next game after seeing it. So Carlsen is he's not the originator. He likes to steal other people's ideas. Absolutely, dude. He's totally stealing Karyakin's prep. Carlsen he's not really an innovator, you know. He's a practical player. D6. Yeah, he was just like, oh well, a3. All right, I'll try that, you know. It's just a neutral move. Why not? It can't be that bad. I think the important thing is that white plays well after that move, because probably a3 kind of gives up white's opening advantage, and he's going to need to play actively. If you play passively, too passively after a3, black will have a good game. But anyway, are we gonna just play? What are we gonna play here? Interesting. Not a lot of choices for black, really. I was thinking about knight h6, but it looks like a bad same-ish King's Indian where he hasn't even played c4. So I was gonna say people play e4, c5, a3 all the time, and this is a little different because it's the Najdorf. It's an open Sicilian. Beacon's move into storage. You may or may not know that, like, I play the Sozin with a3, for example. It's a kind of rare line. Like the Fischer Sozin, where I play a3 voluntarily on move 6 or 7 or whatever, and I don't see any problem with a3. Seems like just another move. We keep trying to invent new ideas in the openings. Alright, so Zen Chess has not played c4. This is not a King's Indian. Therefore, it's interesting. A form of Pirtz. I can't play b5 without just dropping a pawn. And e6, while interesting, I mean, it's kind of a Benoni. I mean, castling queenside in the Benoni does look rather dangerous for white. He said he checked the knight at final. Yeah, of course. This is Carlsen's big preparation. He, like, figures out his opening like the night before. We can blame the time control of modern chess tournaments a little bit. Because if it was like 2 hours, 40 moves in 2 hours, people could probably spend more time in the opening and play more perfectly. But I think this whole 90 minutes... Okay, what time control are they playing, by the way? I don't even know. Can somebody tell me what the time control is in Groningen, not Groningen, in Wekenze, in the main event? It's not, is it 90 minutes or is it more? This is really, I think, an important question, because I think the fast time control, the 90 minutes, favors this practical Magnus Carlsen kind of like, I'll just, play fast and kind of tricky and outplay you. It's not like a purist time control. Straight up, knight f3, bishop e4, check, a4, and white was better. Up and comer. Straight up. This is all standard up and comer. That's all, of course, totally like normal. I mean, everybody knows that. It's we're in a creative situation now. He decided to play rook d1. But I like this better than the standard stuff. At least this is interesting. Yeah, I lost to Mark Hebden. Like, of course, knight f3. It's totally... I don't know about bishop e5 check and a4. For example, there are two lines we can play. Knight f3, knight f6. Bishop e5 check or bishop e2. I'm not really sure which is better. I think they're both quite okay for white after knight f3. Not at all certain. But of course white gets an advantage in this kind of opening. Here, I'm not sure. I can't play d5, but I feel like black should have a good game somehow. Sacrificing something somewhere. Knight e8 isn't good. His bishop takes c5, among other things. I feel like black should have something here. Sacrifice a pawn, but how? Queen b6, I guess. Borrowing a page from Constant Change from earlier. And Queen b6 at some point, but when? Knight c6. Queen takes d6, queen b6. Is that interesting? I'm not really convinced. I don't know. Maybe we have to play knight d7 at some point to protect our c5 pawn. Alright, well, we're going to make up some kind of nonsense here. I wish my mind was a little more clear today. I feel like black has something here, but I don't see it, you know. I don't think I can. I could sacrifice a pawn there with d5, but what's the follow-up? Ed, bishop f5 or something. There's no way to do that. Trying to get the b2 pawn, break up his whole structure. d5 does get b2 back. Either the bishop. What are you guys talking about? Blue Crow said the time control is 100 minutes for 40 moves. Yeah, 100 minutes for 40 moves. It's not very different from 90 minutes. Now I guess we have to play queen takes b2. It seems like white is discoordinated here. Can I say discoordinated? Is that a word? You know, the white king is in the center of the board, and he is losing stability after queen takes b2. So the harmony in the position for white is kind of disturbed. Queen h4 check. What are you guys talking about with the queen h4 check? Well, up and comer, I don't think that the modern defense has been like refuted, but it's superior for white. You know, white should get a slight advantage. I mean, this particular variation with c5, the Schmid-Benoni isn't refuted as far as I know. Maybe, you know, there's a refutation, but I don't think so. It's just an opening where white's probably slightly better. But it's complicated enough that life isn't always that easy. So knight b5, and I like my development here. I want to continue to develop, not get my queen trapped. Doesn't look like my queen's in any danger of getting trapped directly. So you have knight a6 or knight to c6. Maybe knight to c6 I like better. More in the center. And most importantly, we control the d8 square, so I can contest his queen on d6. I mean, the way that white played this is very dangerous. $54 though. So anyway, I don't know. I would think that the Weekend's it's one of the oldest, like, traditional top tournaments in the world. I don't support the fast time controls, FIDE changing, you know. I mean, it's been a while now, 10 years they've been playing with a 90-minute time control or whatever. But I don't like it. I mean, it seems like an elite tournament, like, could have the 40 moves in 2 hours, like the old school. But I guess it's a thing of the past. Zen Chess, what's up, man? You're not trapping my queen there. I have all sorts of places to go. Take your pick. But take your pick quickly, me. Well, I guess I'll take this one. have lots of places to go. People to see. The Zen chess does have that move, but it drops g2. I think he's just falling apart here. He just lost all coordination and collapsed. I guess the moral of the story is not to take on d6. I'm sure that there's like no games ever played in this position. But, I mean, b3. I don't know what White's game. I agree with... I guess I agree with up-and-comer that it's best to just play something. Yes, I mean, bishop e3 is kind of a creative and weird move, but knight f3 and or bishop b5 check, you're going to have to play knight f3 at some point. So that's the standard line. All right, Lazar Kulich. We had an interesting Roy Lopez in my simul the other day, so maybe he'll repeat that. No, that answers that question. So I just wish that the Weekends would have a longer time control. 100 minutes. It's not that much time, so I think the practical players rule more and more so. Carlsen can avoid all sorts of preparation with a move like a3. It's actually perfect for him. He's not really an opening theoretician, you know. He's just one of the greatest practical players of all time, and it probably benefits him, you know, to find moves like a3. All right, well, I don't know what we're going to see here today with this guy, but I don't want to get in time pressure. I'm constantly getting in time pressure every day. He plays g6, okay? It's actually one of my favorite openings with black. I do play with white as well. I have played the Marazzi sometimes, but I actually enjoy... The Marazzi's kind of boring, to be honest. I enjoy playing something a little more dynamic. So usually I meet the Accelerated Dragon with Bishop c4. I had a game in the Hungarian Team Championship like a month ago where I managed to win in this line against old IM, who actually played kind of new idea against me. Castles, or am I supposed to play bishop b3 first? Sometimes even I forget. I'm used to playing the position more for black than for white. Yeah, I'm supposed to play bishop b3, right? And then a5 is the Oigel variation, which I played very rarely. Mostly I play d6. And Luc Burgess played knight a5 against me, I think. Or is that Fischer-Reshevsky? It looks like Fischer-Reshevsky, right? Knight a5, e5, knight e8. Bishop takes f7 check. Am I crazy? Is that Fischer-Reshevsky? Yeah, that's it, right? Knight a5, e5, knight e8. Bishop takes f7 check. Rook takes f7, knight e6, trapping the queen. Or king takes f7, knight e6, trapping the queen. King takes e6, and queen d5 check with mates. King f6, bishop g5 mate. Okay, so anyway, after all this... That's a cool game, by the way. Knight a5. e5, knight e8, bishop takes, f7 check, a5, a4. I don't know the theory well enough. Not being a specialist, I played one game with Samsonisti, a Finnish IM like 10 years ago with black, where I prepared for that game specifically but I mostly don't know this variation too well. So I know f3 is a move, castles is a move, and the theory is really complex. So I actually played a5 last year with black, but without the intention of playing the sharpest lines. Okay, e6 is interesting. Certainly a viable line. But being the Karpovian type of player that I am, I don't mind. I don't mind getting some kind of isolated queen pawn position that might be maybe boring to some other players. I think it would be quite interesting. So d5, e takes d5, e takes d5, h3. Some players may not be that excited by that kind of position, but for me it looks like fun. That is Fischer-Reshevsky, yeah, the knight a5. It's like a blunder. I was talking about Luc Burgess. It's a French IM. He must have played it like a move later against me. So the game must have been castles, bishop b3. How did he do it though? How did he play knight a5 so early? It had to be d6. That's what it was. Burgess must have played d6 here. And when I played castles, d6 here. And when I played h3, then he played knight a5. And that's kind of weird. I don't know how white really gets an advantage against that. I couldn't get anything against Burgess. I guess there's some way. I guess there's some way to get an edge, but it totally befuddled me. I just like offered a draw after 15 moves or something. I'm still not sure. He played knight g4 now. But it seems weird to play e6 and knight g4. It looks like, you guys may not know this, but the main line, there's a famous Nesmedinov game where he's white, and it's something like knight g4, queen takes g4, knight takes d4, and Nesmedinov played like queen h4, I think, in that position. But it's strange to do it with e6 in. It seems like black has a lot of weaknesses on the dark squares. It seems to me like that's the problem here. We don't have queen h4 a la Nesmedinov, but still it seems to me like a lot of dark square weaknesses for black. Don't really like it. Doesn't seem right. There's also nothing to attack the queen, Maybe white just plays rook d1 and has a good game. Right? Any objections? Well, am I taking away my queen's best retreat square here with rook d1? Which rook should I use? Is f5 a move? The myriad of questions we have to answer here. Some strange move like e5 possible? Losing a pawn? I don't know, guys. I'm on my own here. I don't know what this is. This is strange. This combination of playing e6 and knight d4 or knight g4 looks wrong for black, but I'm not sure. Not sure I have a antidote. Yeah. Playable, yes. Now he does d5. Karpov would be happy with white's position, I guess. Just the most small of advantages we can work with. Trade the dark square bishops and endgame land is better for white. I've talked a lot about this piece in a lot of different positions, particularly in Sicilian and in some videos on YouTube. It seems like it's always a problem. This looks like the best square. This seems like a thankless position for black. Yeah, he's maybe not lost, but he's got this unpleasant defensive task forever. So I wouldn't repeat this if I were black. It doesn't look like much fun. Positional queen sack. I hung my queen once today on d2. When I had like 10 seconds left against constant change, I interposed moves in my mind. But I was in trouble anyway in that game. I was down like one, according to the engine, I was probably like minus 1.5 pawns or 1 pawn plus. So it wasn't like I hung my queen in a good position or something, but let's not do it again. Yeah, no, I was aware my queen is hanging. Usually by like the 5th game, I'm pretty alert. My coffee has digested and gone to my brain. I don't like this situation for black, but perhaps it's defensible. I don't know. He does have me like with double pawns. My pawns are not the best. Strategically, though, bad bishop versus good knight. It's not pretty. I don't know if Karpov would play f6 or not. It's an interesting move, man. I like it. I like your... I might have played that move myself, to be perfectly honest. Might have played that move myself. It makes sense, you know, to avoid the exchange. Alright, I'm not going to rush things here. Try to improve the position. I like f6 a lot. That's the right idea. Do not trade into that death situation where objectively, though, I don't know what to do. This move's kind of passive. He's probably holding this. Queen there, I was panicking. Maybe h4 I was thinking about. I started to worry about g5, but that's kind of reckless for black. h4 looks like a much better move than queen d2. Queen d2 is just passive, panic move because of the time. White's better, but I'm concerned about something concrete in this position. Actually, knight b5 was an interesting move too. Maybe I should just go for that. There's a fork on c7. I don't really see a plan, though. Knight b5 just looked like a random cheapo. to be honest. Okay, what would Karpov do here? Just slowly, incrementally try to improve the position. We can make a lot of waiting moves. What I don't want to do is unblockade this pawn and let black play like d4 and bishop takes b3 and simplify into like a drawn position. If I let him liquidate his isolated pawn with d4, that could be a serious problem. That's what I'm worried about. Rook a6 is a classic move in this line. I don't know that it's the best or not, but good enough. I'm just making random moves, getting a little bit of white square control. Thought about h3, but this move's controlling the center. It gives me queen f2 sometimes. His problem is that his a5 pawn was hanging. That's why he couldn't trade rooks. I think that black is okay. It looks like black is okay here. That's kind of a crazy move. Looks crazy, but maybe not. He goes into a pin. Wow, he's fast, isn't he? There's no bishop. Touchdown. Rook h7 is not recommended. I'm in check. Wow. I think we got it under control now. This was a funny game. Good game, man. Kramnik Mania is watching. Not too many people are maniacal about Kramnik. It was a good game, good game. I don't know. I'm sure that we both made a fair amount of mistakes, but strategically, good battle. Milan Kirai, or Cry. All right. Let's try an English opening. Beacon's movement and storage is putting up the Nezamedinov game I was talking about. It is like one of his most famous games. The game in the Oigel variation there. Here it's a symmetrical English. I play this for both sides, but he played knight f6. Mostly I see c5, g6 with symmetrical. This is good though for something different to see knight f6. This move order isn't that common. Normally I play knight f3, but I can play e3 here. I haven't played a position like this in a long time. This particular variation. E6 there. Yeah, I was afraid of that. There is an interesting possibility, but now I don't want to do it. Yeah. Bishop takes c6 now. I don't think that's going to do it. The problem here is that there's a lot of danger reaching a really symmetrical kind of position after d5. Normally black's knight should be on e7, not on f6, but I don't know how to really exploit that. I guess I could play knight f4, which isn't bad. I played an analogous system with black. So this is kind of the only way to avoid black playing d5 and then trading a piece and then getting a symmetrical pawn structure. If I play d4, c takes d4, e takes d4, d5, c takes d5, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, just draw. Once I had a game with Greg Shahadi in the amateur team tournament where we just agreed to a draw in like 10 moves. Because it's just hopeless. I mean, there's no way for any side to get an advantage in those positions. Castles. So I've been black in this position now and then with colors reversed. The extra tempo doesn't mean a whole lot in this kind of closed position. But the thing is about the Nesmedinov game in that last variation. Oops. I just dropped my poker chips. I think that the Queen H4 as played by Nesmedinov is not the only move. It seems to me that white can play like Queen D1 as well. I'm not sure what's better. But that accelerated dragon line with A5, the so-called Ugle variation, I have the feeling that A4 is probably not the most critical move. White has very, very interesting play with F3 and castles kingside in those lines. But the theory is really, really scary and complex. Milan Cry. This is a new account. Like, I didn't want to play him yesterday because it's just like totally new. Mostly I'm playing people who have 50 games or more. But since he did play us yesterday, I took the chance and he wasn't a troll. Here we are again. Now it's a little different. I could play D4 here and try to get away with this. But I'm looking at, I like his move B6. If D4, he can play either bishop B7 or C takes D, E takes D, bishop B7, or maybe even bishop A6 in that position. So I'm unconvinced here. I'm unconvinced that this is, the D4 is very tempting, but he has some resources with bishop B7 and or bishop A6. So let's say D4, CD, ED, bishop B7, then what do I do? What's like D5 or something crazy? And then knight A5. Not that convinced. We can try it though. At least we're being aggressive. But I'm not convinced. I guess I could play symmetrically with B3. It just feels kind of boring to me, you know? Maybe I have, you know, if he doesn't exchange on D4, maybe I have sometimes Queen D6 type of moves. It doesn't look very safe though. My bishop needs to be developed on C1. I was also looking at bishop A6, but that move looks kind of weird. I mean, maybe I just play B3 and shut it down. So I have my doubts about bishop A6. Queen D1 is the main line. Says Bulletproof, talking about that accelerated dragon. Queen D1 is the main line, yes. Alright. Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about this, but it says he's 1730 in blitz, 1700 in bullet. I thought we'll try something interesting here. kind of a tactical position. Another thing I could have played would be like knight to b5, but it doesn't look very correct. b3 has a problem. After d5, I wasn't sure what to do. Maybe I could sacrifice the exchange or something. I don't know. Bishop b7. I'm happy to see that. I thought queen c8 was more combative. He might also have something else. I guess not. I guess knight a5 isn't playable. So he's pinned at the moment. d5 doesn't do much. Rook d1. Develop a piece. How about that? But he's doing well for a provisional player. Yeah, I just play a4 in that accelerated dragon because I'm kind of lazy. I haven't had time to study the variations with f3 and like are insanely complicated. I even have an old game against Samsonisti with black I was talking about. I can't even remember my own game from 10 years ago. I memorized a lot of theory to play that particular game and then never played it again subsequently, so I forgot everything. It requires a lot of memorization. Some really, really crazy lines. But there are other simpler ways for black to play. After f3, once I saw Wojtkiewicz play, rather than this crazy stuff, he just played like d6 and traded knights on d4 and bishop d7 or something. So black doesn't have to go into like insane complications in that Ugel. We can just play it like a normal Marazzi kind of strategy for black. I don't know what's going on here. I guess we're just a little bit better. I want to play rook a d1. We could disturb the position with d5 at some point. Disturb the equilibrium. That's the word I was looking for. Alright, so I don't know why this rook rather than the other rook. I just don't like my rook on the long diagonal with the bishop on g7. But maybe the rooks belong on like c1 and d1. Knight a5. I guess I could have played d5 there. Looks kind of complicated. Now black is sort of threatening d5. Feels like he's threatening to play d5 here, because this positionally would be okay for him. And if I play d5, I stop him from doing that. But objectively, so what? So what? My b2 pawn is hanging sometimes. Like, I'd like to take with a piece on d5, but I'll be dropping a pawn on b2. Maybe just b4, dropping my pawn on c4. That's good. Or not. Awkward situation here. Ooh, and he has knight g4 sometimes. Maybe this is an interesting try. Probably not good. But I have to do something, right? Before I lose on time. Looks kind of weakening. But I felt if he plays d5, he solves a lot of his problems. I'm just kind of preventing him from doing that smooth d5 move. But I think the position is not clear to me who's better here. Queen c7. Did not anticipate that. Black's played pretty well, but it's pretty complicated, hard to evaluate. Knight g4, yes. Bishop d4 drops a piece. I have knight b5, actually. It's not really a long-term plan, this move, knight b5. Just something to think about. And maybe bishop d2 on his knight on a5 could be handy. Try to keep some kind of semblance of control of the situation here. That's about all I can do. Guys, we're going to play 2 more games after this. Milan Kraj maybe just blundered, I guess, with queen c8 instead of like the expected queen b8 or whatnot. I mean, I'm winning the exchange here and probably the game. I don't want to give him any counterplay. I may not have a say in it, though. He may be getting counterplay no matter what I do, somehow. My king side, you know, look at his queen here. I have to be careful about my king side, obviously. But he has a little problem, like, if he plays e5, he closes down his pressure on d5, and his queen ends up stuffed out there on b7. So I just keep the position. Keep the position. That's all I can say. Maybe I should take on e6 now. I guess it's pretty strong. I don't know if you could play knight e5 in that position. Nah, probably not good. I thought this was good for me, but I'm having second thoughts. All right. I'm a tactical genius. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous how good I am tactically. He has queen a8 here. Not trading queens. And the point is, he has knight e5 with a devastating knight f3 check. But I have queen takes c8 check, queen takes c8, and rook d8, trading everything off into a winning ending. So I wanted to see that, but I think it's a win. Darken is challenging me to chess 960. We're slowly playing a little bit better, starting to see the board a bit for today. Queen e8 all along. Well, he blundered, okay, with queen c8 in the first place. Okay, this is my first chess 960 in ages. So, knights on the side, that's not good. The worst possible starting position for the knights. With the bad knights, I would think the game would develop kind of slowly. Or should. I'm going to be original here and play e5. I have noticed this chess 960. You would think it would be like all maniacal and random, and maybe for some players it is, but it seems though that the games develop more slowly. Generally tend to be kind of convoluted maneuvering struggles. a2 and a7 undefended. He's playing the King's Gambit on my a7 pawn. Uh-oh. Oh, man. I've never played this guy. Normal chess or chess 960. It looks like I blundered. It looks like this is just a really good King's Gambit. My rook is going to get drawn out to e5. I guess I could play c5. It's very ugly and anti-positional. But it develops my queen. It protects a7 and it like secures the e5 square as an outpost. So I think word to that. It's an ugly pawn structure with a big hole on d5, but I guess it has something going for it. Maybe we can manage. I mean, otherwise, like, I feel like I'm getting rolled, like knight b6, pawn takes pawn, rook takes, and d4, and white has like a clear advantage. So the center is everything. And here maybe we can get a little bit tricky and not play the routine move. Get the bad knight in the game directly. Maybe I'm asking for too much. This move, I don't know. Perhaps. Probably I'm asking for too much, but I'm not sure that life would have been easy anyway. In that position now, I think c3 was very interesting. c3, knight takes e5, d4. Looks like white's better. But here I'm not in love with white's game. There's a queen g5 check. Hello. But structurally, he's not superior now. So knight takes e5, bishop takes a7. Looks looks like a bad thing for me to do. Could play knight b6, developing another bad knight, or bishop c5. Is bishop c5 a good thing? Maybe knight b6. Is there anything dynamic I can do in this position? I don't see how I can sacrifice this pawn on a7 objectively. Be nice to trap his queen on c1. Bishop e7, h6, and bishop g5. Knight is bad, but it could go to like c7 and e6 maybe. Is queen g5 check a real thing? It seems a bit strange, but I'm going to reserve my knight for this path to the center. Guys, one more game after this, and this is Chess 960. The pieces are set up randomly on the back rank. Just so you guys are wondering why the position is so strange. We haven't played a Chess 960 game here on the stream in a while, but it is something that I told everybody I'd like to do. Tomorrow is Weird Wednesday, so I'll be playing like a Blitz and Classical stream in the morning with unusual openings. Now I like my game. It's nothing special, but I think I'm not worse. Knight takes e5. I was a little worried about queen g5 check there. Now not. I constantly give lectures on the stream here about how badly knights are placed on these squares, like g3, b3, b6, and g6. And that is more evident than ever in this kind of opening, where the knights start on the corner squares. I was saying queen c6, bishop takes a7, castles long. Didn't occur to me. Good idea. There may have been some, and it's against my nature to like develop my queen really early, but yeah, perhaps we could sacrifice a pawn with like queen c6, bishop takes a7, castles queenside. I hadn't really made up my mind about my king. Obviously castling queenside is a good idea. Knight f5 now, looking like a welcome square for white. He's got his knights where they usually tend to be problematic. d6 is okay, right? Or bishop b5, is that a problem? Shall I play knight c7 first? And then, only then, think about something else? Looks reasonable. Pretty bizarre position. He doesn't have any of these squares available other than e2 for the bishop on f1. Anytime he plays queen g5, I have f6, obviously. I cannot play knight e6 until further notice. d6 or f6. You know, d6 does look a little more attractive. More risky for my king, I guess. It's a different game from normal chess, isn't it? Much different game. I'm playing a hyper modern. He's casting a very hyper modern, very, very hyper modern form of. Man, is there a queen sacrifice or something vicious here? Queen takes e5, d takes e5. Nah, really? You gotta be kidding me. If that works. Queen takes e5, d takes e5, bishop takes b6 check, king e7. But there's a knight on e6. I don't see it. This does look kind of dangerous for me. Look how well his pieces are coordinated. Rook here, bishop here, knight here. Very efficient. Queen f4. It's apparent that my king is safer on the king's side, but I can't get it out. Can't get it out here. Whew, this is a little bit dangerous. The white square started to go because of the move b6. Queen f2. Queen g5 check. I don't think that does anything. Queen g5 check. What am I talking about? This is my king here. I'm probably nearly lost in this position. White's play with no pawn moves is pretty impressive. Does not make pawn moves, but just plays perfect efficiency with the pieces. I keep hallucinating about my king and queen, because I haven't been doing this too often lately. But monster knight on e5. I don't know if that's going to be enough to save me. I don't like pieces coming to b5 in this position. It's not something I want to see. So we're playing a kind of hedgehog. And I've got to stop hallucinating that my queen is on d8. That's the problem with playing too much chess. You know, you're thinking... In 1 minute I realize my king is on d8, and the next minute I start thinking it's my queen, because that's where my queen is usually, you know, so it's very hard to adapt. I have a lot of pieces on the back rank. It's not really conventional. Not really conventional position. And my bishops, speaking of bishops, well, no time like the present. This has got to be some sort of tactic, right? A sacrifice? Knight takes d6? Yes. It's some kind of computer type of sacrifice. Knight takes d6. And my king is screwed. No, please don't give me more time. That's alright, dude. I was thinking about sacrificing a pawn here for a long time anyway. I guess this is just lost for black. But we'll try to get some practical, cheapo chances. There was this sacrifice knight takes d6 he was trying to do. If I play g6, knight takes d6, bishop takes d6, queen f6 check, winning for white. Now I have to like hang my a6 pawn, which I didn't even think about. I'm just lost here. I think white's just totally winning. Not sure about that move, objectively. Queen h4. Maybe we can escape. I'm not sure about the best way to do this. Whoa. Well, now I know. Still in fear for my life here. With my king out in the middle of the board, basically, on d7. I mean c7. Hopefully we can win on time or something. I'm unconvinced by the game position. Young maiden won. Well, not really a good game by me. I don't think this was... Even at the end, I'm lost, probably. Positionally, white is huge here. Even down a pawn. You're not down a pawn, actually. Your king is a little bit exposed, but it's a massive position for white. This is like probably just winning strategically, but... Okay, the time. The time was the problem. Last game for today, guys. PQLLED. He played against me in my simul on Sunday. Don't repeat what I did in that chess 960 game. I just left my king in the center like way too long. Plucro's suggestion of like playing queen c6, trying to castle queenside looked interesting, but I think I just screwed up right in the opening. After e4, I shouldn't play e5. I should be aware of that idea of f4. In the chess 960, after e4, e5, f4, c5, I think strategically my game is pretty dubious. Creating weaknesses and my king being in the center. It's not normal chess. It was too dangerous. So back to the Sicilian. Alright, I played, what today? We had one Sicilian Grand Prix attack, which I wasn't happy with. No normal lines. I play the Accelerated Dragon, and sometimes I play the classical variation, also known as like the Richter Rouser, when white plays Bishop G5. Other things that I play from time to time, various Sicilians with E6, Scheveningen, Queen C7 on move 2. Maybe he'll play... I don't play the Najdorf PQ, so if you're intending to play the Karyakin attack with A3, you're out of luck. That was featured recently. Romain 8003 said, "What? Yes, what are you guys talking about?" Didn't mean to paste. Just meant queen takes E5 works. What are you talking about? Queen takes E5 in which position? Plucro. At the end of my game, like after queen takes e5, when I played it, or a different position? Tomorrow we'll be back with Weird Wednesday. It's a stream when I play unusual openings. Today I'm playing more or less like my standard openings. Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, Fridays. What I normally play is what I play. But on Wednesdays I play kind of interesting, unusual lines, and gives everyone a chance to kind of experiment and play different stuff. Nothing ridiculous like Richard Rockport would approve of, but slightly offbeat, slightly unusual gambits and king's gambits, and let's have fun tomorrow, basically. PQLLED. He's slower than me. So, this is just the starting position of one of the biggest branches in the Sicilian. Not as trendy as the Najdorf, of course. Queen b6 is called the Benko. That's a line that I never learned to play for one reason or another. But I had faced it with white sometimes. Remember once I lost to Alex Scherzer, pretty bad game. After queen b6, I just didn't know what to do. I did like knight b3, and we transposed to a Scheveningen type position. After queen b6, there's some interesting moves, like knight takes c6, which seems strange, but white's kind of ahead in development, and that is possible there. Queen b6, knight b5 is a move, knight takes c6 is a move, and knight b3. But I play the standard lines. There used to be a time when I think I had more like very, very sharp type of Velimirovich attack games online playing blitz than any other line. So we'd see like bishop e3, a6, queen e2, queen c7, castles queenside, and stuff like that, you know. And it doesn't seem like I've ever had more than like one or two at the most games in those variations here on lichess. It's kind of strange. Now white played castles, and that's a quiet move, essentially. I've played a3. We're talking about a3 today. a3 I played against quite a few players, I think. Maybe Karyakin can try it out. But when white castles kingside, mostly I'm just going to do the same in this type of position. The lines where white castles queenside are much more double-edged and scary for both sides, but especially for black. Do you think chess helps you think better? Time waste just like you? I would hope so. I'd hate to think where I'd be if it wasn't for chess. I'd probably be like drooling in a corner somewhere. Yeah, I would imagine that it's helping. It's helping. Absolutely. For a long time, I kind of would pride myself on my memory, but I have like a kind of visual memory, and I'm not good with, not really good with auditory stuff, so names of people I never remember. But I think having a visual memory is typical for chess players. So I remember a lot of games I played 20 years ago. There was a time when I remembered all my games. Ah, yes, bishop g5. This is a move we do see from time to time here. It's surprisingly popular for a move that doesn't exist theoretically. We have faced this type of position on multiple occasions. Basically, you're mixing like apples and oranges. So, I mean, there are two aggressive setups. The most aggressive setups for white are like bishop g5 and bishop c4. And also bishop e3, but whatever. You understand my point. Usually you play one or the other. You know, either a Sozin, where you're playing like f4, f5, or you're playing the Rouser with bishop g5 and castling queenside. But we get this a lot here, this mixing the one with the other, and I don't understand exactly why it's so common for a line that doesn't exist in any kind of theoretical books or something. Bishop c4, bishop g5, it's just two completely different moves. But having said that, I have had some troubles wandering into positions by playing kind of carelessly. One tactic that does happen is like knight takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes e7, knight takes c3, bishop takes d8, knight takes d1, blah, 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 is possible. But in general, those kind of variations are hard to calculate and confusing because there's all different, slightly different variations of them. I don't remember. Knight takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes g5. At the very least there, he could do like knight takes c6, b takes c6, knight takes d6 check with a pretty good game. So I don't think I can get away with that. I'm pretty sure I've looked at this, and my conclusion was castles is the best move. So nothing fancy. I can't win a pawn, as it might happen in some variations. I don't like weakening my position with h6. I am surprised, though, how often I face this. Occasionally you'll see people play like bishop b5 and bishop g5. That I think might exist, theoretically. You know, you'd see like bishop g5, e6, and then bishop b5. If I recall correctly, that's a line called like the Richter attack. The Richter attack after the German master Kurt Richter. But bishop c4 and bishop g5, it's strange. I'm not so sure about this good memory being a blessing thing. Well, I think it's better to just have a great sense of, let's say, creativity. Probably more beneficial than memory. Queen d2 now. Again, we have knight takes e4. Knight takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes g5, knight takes g5, knight takes d4. But again, he can like throw away the piece with something like knight takes f7, rook takes f7, queen takes d4 and be more or less slightly better. But I might have something inner position, like knight takes e4. Knight takes e4, bishop takes g5, knight takes g5, knight takes d4. Even there, I mean, you just play queen takes d4, queen takes g5, queen takes d6 with an equal game. So thinking about all this stuff, it's kind of nonsensical. All these fancy variations. At the end of the day, I mean, nothing seems to really work. The best I can do is probably like liquidate, trade some pieces, and draw. If I try some kind of fancy combination, like knight takes e4. So a4. Perhaps we trade pieces for the sake of relieving the cramp in our position. He kind of wasted a tempo, in a sense, you know, playing queen e2 and then having to capture on d4. So it's not really losing a tempo exactly, but can argue that it's kind of a waste of time. So he's cramping me with a good move, a4. I think he's played credibly here. PQLLED. 2,000 bullet. More or less 2,000 everything. I like to see the consistency in the ratings, though, because then I'm sure that my opponent isn't like somebody who's cheating, or... It's not that common to see that, though. PQLLED has a very consistent rating, and most people are like 200 points higher in... It seems like they're 200 points higher in classical here. I thought this is a bit of a strange move, maybe. Rook at AD1. Having played the a-pawn forward, I would think you'd continue with a5, cramping me, or maybe just leave that rook there and play the other rook to d1. So there's something very slightly inconsistent about a4 and rook ad1, more or less. Guys, this is my last game for today. I'm like over time. I don't understand Sleepy how good memory not be a blessing. Well, if you had a lot of bad experiences, I guess a good memory could be a bad thing. Sometimes we just want to forget. That's my only take on it. From a scientific standpoint, obviously, it would be hard to see the downside of having a good memory. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining me here today. This is our last game. I'll be back tomorrow, 12:30 CET, Central European Time, with more blitz and classical chess, but it's Weird Wednesday when we play unusual openings. Also, I'd like to let you know I have a YouTube channel, Video Chess Training, which many of you guys have subscribed. I do upload all of my streams over there. I also do other videos about analyzing games that I've played online, or opening analysis in some cases. Hopefully every week I'll add a new video on the YouTube channel. I'm also available for training and lessons. If you guys want to contact me regarding any chess-related work, please don't hesitate to do so. My email is videochesstrainer@gmail.com. Rook e8 looks passive. Knight takes e4. Bishop takes e7. Queen takes e7. Nah, I don't know about that. Looks like it's kind of late stage to start some kind of combinations around here. I don't know. Let's just play a solid move. I recommend, if you do get in time pressure, and if you're a player who has a tendency toward time pressure, try to keep things simple. Rather than launching into some kind of complicated tactic with knight takes e4, I said, all right, let's just be practical and develop a piece. And if you do have time pressure issues, don't play overly complicated positions, would be my advice. In fast time controls, like 90-minute or even faster. Blue Crow, thank you. Thank you for the game. Thank you for all you guys for tuning in and joining me here on my stream. Also, I'd like to thank everyone who's donated to the stream via PayPal or otherwise. We have support from some of the viewers, which I appreciate greatly. And if you can just spare a small donation every year to keep my stream and the YouTube channel up, I much appreciate it. Bishop f1. This is obviously an issue. I have no time to calculate tactics here. What should we do? Here I am saying, like, keep it simple, keep it simple. I'm walking into possible knight d5 type of sacrifices with this move, queen c7. This was a little bit passive. On the other hand, maybe queen a5 would be worse, because it would really allow knight d5. Okay, so he eventually, like, cracks and allows this. I think he's trading off his strong point in the center there. You know, this probably only benefits black objectively, but still white's position is okay, isn't it? It is okay. Bishop takes. Queen takes, bishop b4. I'm sorry, queen takes. I meant to say queen takes. And bishop b4. Pawn hunting. I am pawn hunting. It's not really... Rubinstein would be satisfied with this, I guess. Managed to snipe a pawn. We have allowed our king side to be damaged, though. My h pawn in particular. I don't want to get in really bad time pressure here. You know what? I don't like bishop e4. You're not welcome to go to e4. Centralizing the king. Putting my pawns on the right color, for what that's worth. This is a kind of tough position. Black is obviously a pawn up, but I'm not certain by any stretch of the imagination that I'm winning here. It is like a double pawn. I would like to trade it off. However, c4 seems like a risky decision by white. Probably losing. Not convinced, though. My extra pawn is kind of questionable. I think there's good winning chances here. This is probably a losing move. You should never do that. Too many pawns on the white squares. Plus he's just down a pawn. Objectively, this is winning. I'm not sure if I was winning there. I guess somehow I would win. Let me just throw this on the analysis board. Is this definitely a winning position in the ending? Now it's winning for sure after king b2, but I guess it's winning. It's just that it's not that easy. Yeah. Looks like I was winning all the way. Objectively, but it wasn't so simple. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me. We'll be back tomorrow with Weird Wednesday. Classical and Blitz with strange and unusual openings that are not normally part of my repertoire. So otherwise, I enjoyed it today. Congratulations to Constant Change, the First game today, I lost, and we had a lot of tough battles, so it was not easy with you guys today. We'll see you tomorrow, and thanks again.